Starting. Welcome to this very special live stream, our last live stream from the Philippines. This is a very special thing. Thank you for joining us. We're going to make it really fun for you. We are here to make live streaming great again for you. Now, before we get going, and I'll get to your questions and comments for a bit, but first, I have a question for you. And there's no right or wrong answer to this. The question is, what do you value more? What would you rather have? Material things, tangible things that you can grab, physically hold on to, material possessions, or would you rather have that or experiences? Now, I'm not talking about experiences like having a lovely dinner with your family. I'm talking about experiences that would really cost money to do something, that things that involve things that usually involve like travel or just you'd have to pay money, a lot of money to experience it, maybe like skydiving or going and swimming with the dolphins or uh, a wild bear hunt in Alaska, something like that, something that would really cost money. So, what would you rather have? Leave me a comment. Would you rather have things or would you rather have experiences? And allow me to rephrase the question actually. Let's say that you could win a prize. The choice is you either win a 2-month vacation trip around the whole world where they take care of your travel and expenses for 2 months, or you can have a brand new Chevy Camaro. What would you rather have? Just leave your comment with your answer. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. This is just what you think is right for you, what you would prefer. So, would you rather have things or experiences? That's question number one. And to give you kind of an example, and you can answer this one too, would you rather have a 2-month vacation around the world as a prize, or would you rather have a brand new Chevy Camaro? Now, what would you have, Imabelle? I'll answer a little bit later after we get some of their answers.
Well, I'll have the 2-month vacation around the world.
That's what you'd rather have, more than a brand new Chevy Camaro.
I think so, because I'll be able to go to more places than having the Chevy Camaro.
So it's more important to you that you have
And with that
experiences.
my answer to the first question is experiences.
Now, I asked you this question the other day, and you did tell me that you'd much rather have experiences than things. I'll give you my answer in a little bit, but there was actually a study done that asked people this very question: what would you rather have, material things or experiences? What would make you happier? That was the question.
It depends though. Experiences would be great if they are shared or spent with the people you love, with the people that are important to you. So, I that
As
would
opposed to experiences by yourself.
yes, of course. And but on the other hand, I would choose things just because these things can be passed on, can possibly be passed on to, the people that I'll be leaving behind in God's perfect time, of course, who can benefit from them. But experiences, I can share them the stories as well. And that would be, I learned from experiences, so that would also be knowledge.
And those very nice memories, of course.
Yes.
Let me see what the answers we have so far. Uh, Anthony Glass says, easy choice, he would travel the world. Carla Putnam says, travel, but I did that and it's tiring after a while, but would still choose travel, even though she's done a lot of it.
Right.
Thomas says, MAGA.
Yes.
Paul Paul Putnam says, I'll take the Camaro, sell it, and get a new F-150. Well, that's not a bad idea either. I mean,
Yeah.
especially because you could, like I said, let's say you don't want a Camaro. I mean, it could almost be any car that's, something like that, the equivalent. He's obviously into trucks. Some guys are very into trucks.
Funny button, Paul and Carla, you're related, right?
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
move
I didn't notice
on.
that. Davao Yoda says, "What is the live stream all about? Well, you just got to watch, my friend. Let me see.
Yeah, just hang with us so you'll know what we'll be talking about, and you guys could
He
share
says he
your thoughts.
values his pride and respect, but that wasn't one of the
choices.
Choices, exactly. People say they like our hats, our outfits.
You want to buy from us? Just kidding.
He also says, and being a Phil-Am, I value the culture of being a U.S. citizen and Filipino citizen. Very nice answer, but again, those weren't one of the choices. But it's a good answer, I
You
suppose.
guys are so creative and
Uh,
so
we got Sophie says
insightful.
experiences. That's what she values. Uh, Let me see here. The the great Supreme says living here in the Philippines, I like experiences.
See, so it depends on where you are, I guess.
I think he's from another country though. The H
Yeah,
effect says I would take the trip. I get more from experience than objects, more value from culture.
that means
Uh,
people. So
Paul says I did a stint in the army, so I've traveled enough and like to stay put.
that's understandable.
Uh, the Great Supreme says I owned a car most of my life living in the U.S. Yeah, you got to have one there. Did you? What kind of car did you have? Uh, yeah, it seems I actually did a poll about this on the community section that you see if you're looking at from a mobile device. To see it from a laptop or desktop, just go to my channel and then click on the community tab. And the question was, what would you rather have, the world trip or the car? And as I expected, actually, it was about even. Half the people said they'd take the car, half the people said they'd take the trip around the world. Um,
Oh,
Let me see.
Carla said they're not related. Okay.
They're
Well,
not.
thank you
You know what's funny?
for answering my
You know
question.
what's funny? My freshman year in college, my dorm, the name was Putnam. So that's a little trivia, a little factoid for you. I'm trying to get to some more of their answers. Uh, this Bruce has a good answer here. Bruce has a very good answer. The Camaro could possibly lead to many great experiences. It is a chick magnet. Well, there you go. That guy is thinking.
Okay.
Let me see here. I'm just scrolling down. We need someone to employ their services to help us out with this. Let me see here. You're not broadcasting. There's lag. Yeah, there's we don't have the best internet here, but that should be
I
fixed
think
soon.
we are gonna give the first round of applause. Are you
Oh
ready for
yeah, yeah,
that?
yeah.
Clap, clap, clap! Hope you could join us because we have a super chat from Peter Rocco.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Peter. And Peter is part of our patron family too, right?
What Peter just did actually, yeah, he also supports us on Patreon. And
Thank
if
you, Peter.
you guys can support us on Patreon to support our channel, support our videos. It really helps out. It helps us keep bringing these to you. The link is in the description for that. And Peter just gave us a $2 super chat, which all you have to do is go down to the dollar sign down there, and it lets you do whatever you want to give there. So that helps make these videos possible. I'm still just looking at your guys' answers about that. Some of these are not relevant to the thing, but go ahead and answer that question if you want still. Now I will get to,
Let
let
me
me
say
just
hi to
close this.
Jesse and Don first. Hi to you and Cass and your baby, your children, your cute kids.
The H effect, I'd just like to address his comment here. He says, rewind 3 seconds and you will have no lag. I didn't know that was the way it works, but that's some very helpful information. Some of you guys are saying you're experiencing lag, so I guess rewind a few seconds and you won't experience lag. So thank you for that tip. Uh, Let me see. Okay, I guess I will answer the question. Thank you guys for answering it. You guys can keep leaving answers about what would you rather have, a brand new Chevy Camaro or a 2-month trip around the world? What is more important to you, experiences or tangible material thing? And now they had a study about this, and I found it very fascinating. I'll give you my answer here. You said you'd rather have experiences. That's knowing your personality. That seems more important to you. So it's kind of expected. And me, I know absolutely what my answer would be, what's more important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And what's most important to me is definitely material things. Material things, physical objects, having those would make me happier than having experiences.
Like for example, what?
Well, for example, if I had the choice between winning a new car like a Camaro, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
winning a new car, almost any kind of car really. Um, if I had the choice between winning a new car and winning a 2 month trip around the world, I would definitely take the new car because my philosophy is experiences, they only last a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Once the 2 months are up, they're up. Now, after 2 months, you're probably still going to have that car, or if you want, you can at least sell it and get a car that you'd rather have, like the other guy answered. So that's my thinking. Experiences, they just vanish away.
But
Now,
you can
things
meet,
they can
you
stick
can make
around.
friends along the way.
Yeah.
Relationships. You expand your network.
Are
You
any of
know.
those friends going to get me a new Camaro? Then that would be okay. But that's the way I think. Like me, I'm not a guy that's into fireworks. I would never go spend a lot of money on fireworks because as soon as you light it off, it goes up in the air, makes a big bang, and that's like, okay, your money's gone, the experience is gone. Now you have nothing to show for it.
Actually, the only deal breaker for me for the 2 month vacation is if it's only for me alone. I want to go on 2 month vacation with my family. Is that too much to ask? So if it's not, if it's only
Well,
me
now you're
alone.
complicating the question.
Sorry.
But that's how I think. And they had this study, what would make you happier, material things or experiences, and the results were very interesting. The results said that people below a certain income level, they would much rather have material things. That would make them happier. Having physical things makes uh, poorer people, more poor people, not necessarily poor, but people below a certain income level, material things makes them more happy than having experiences. Now, for people that were wealthy, it was just the opposite.
Mhm.
They don't they were all about experiences, and that's what makes wealthy people happy. Having experiences, material things not so much. And I have to tell you that really made sense to me when I saw the results because of all the wealthy people that I know, many of them are not materialistic at all. I know some wealthy people and they don't really care about buying an expensive car. They'll just buy a cheap car and drive around. They don't care one way or another. They don't care about trying to impress people with things and they don't get overjoyed just by having something physical. Those people that I know, to them, what really makes them fulfilled, what makes them happy, is experiencing things, having all these different experiences. So
Mhm.
that totally makes sense to me. And
Right.
like I said, for my thinking, I want the actual thing because if you, especially if it's something that you take care of, like a car or something like that, that's going to be that could potentially be around for decades. That's why I'm not real big into amusement parks. I actually used to work very briefly at Six Flags in California, and we got an invite to go to Disneyland, which I don't think we're going to do because you wait in line at these amusement parks sometimes for hours, and then the ride only lasts like 60 seconds. And to me, it's like, is that worth it? It's like to me the juice isn't worth the squeeze. But that's how I think. Um, Let me see here. So you guys can keep, now we can address your questions, but I had a few other things that I wanted to, talk about here. I'm just kind of going through your things. I'll scroll back to these later. Uh, it's funny though, speaking about wealth and wealthy people, I was just talking to a friend, and this is a guy that knows a lot of very wealthy people. I'm not talking about people that are comfortable. I'm talking about people that they can buy their own country. They can buy their own islands. To them, like money is not even a concern or issue whatsoever. These are people that are super wealthy people to where money is like not
Mhm.
even a question of. They can do their lives have no limit in terms of finances. And this guy was saying about these super wealthy people. He said, one thing that I've noticed about them, they're all crazy. Maybe not crazy, but maybe you could say eccentric. Some of them, though, literally are borderline insane. So it's kind of funny how that works out.
Well, we know some people, some rich, real rich people like that too.
Well,
Personally,
yeah, we know. So yeah, there's a guy that we know that's pretty wealthy, and if you talk to this guy, you might kind of think that he's crazy or something, or like he's very impractical, and the things that maybe because it's a result of having lots of money, you don't have to be practical in the sense that general people have to be practical. But this is a guy that sometimes you talk to him and he talks about his thoughts and some of the things he wants to do, and you'll be like, man, this guy's kind of crazy. This
his
guy seems
vision.
he
Yeah,
seems borderline insane, but I guess maybe that's also because he's a very big dreamer. He has very big visions. I don't
yeah.
know. Maybe I'm very limited by my beliefs in terms of that. So,
It's also good though. It's also good though to associate with with that kind of people. I think it brings inspiration and it's broaden your horizons. But of course, it's not bad to be realistic as well. But to dream is for free, so why not dream, right?
this guy that we talked to, he told us that we just talked to, told us a very funny story. He was in, can I tell the story in Hong Kong without, if I leave out the details?
I think so.
Yeah. He was in Hong Kong and they have a family friend that
Mhm.
he's a little bit of an older guy, but he was there at the same time and he called him up and he said, hey, I'm looking to have this particular exotic dish while I'm here in Hong Kong. It's one of their
Mhm.
specialties there. And then my friend, this guy we know, he called up someone that he knew that was local and he said, hey, I know this guy that's here. He wants to have this particular dish. Can you possibly do us a favor and take him out to a good restaurant and
Yeah.
where he can get a really good dish of this stuff? And this guy from Hong Kong took out this other guy, this older guy, took him to and it was an expensive restaurant. And the Hong Kong guy, he's thinking, geez, I'm taking a Filipino guy here. Is he even going to be able to eat here? Everything on the menu is so expensive. Well, this older Filipino gentleman, he ordered $60,000 worth of food. I mean, this exotic dish, I guess it's really exotic and rare, this thing that he ate. So he ordered this. The bill came to like around $60,000 US. Just for his lunch. This guy spent $60,000 US. And I guess the Hong Kong guy was thinking, geez, I guess this guy's legit. He just paid for like a $60,000 meal. No problem. Not even concerned about it.
Well, for how many people was that for? Like everything he ordered, I wonder.
I don't know. Like you could feed the army for that, I think.
That would be like how many percentage of
That's
people below poverty line that could already you know,
that's probably more than the average American makes in
be
a year.
fed.
The average American probably doesn't make that working all year long. And this guy spent that much just for lunch and didn't think anything about it. So I guess you could say that guy really enjoys the experiences. So are you going through the questions, Imabelle?
What's that again? I was trying to read something on like on Facebook where also
You're
someone
sharing the
asked.
video.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to you guys' questions and comments now. We're not trying to ignore you. Um, we missed a lot through that talking. Melvin says experience makes you wiser, materials make you OC. Well, I suppose that could be true, but depends on the experiences. My dad is someone that's very good with possessions. My dad takes care of stuff that he has. He has clothes that he wore in high school still that are still in really good shape. So my dad takes care of things that he has. He has a lot of shoes that he wore in high school, a lot of, shirts, pants, he has all that stuff. So I'm trying to see the relevant comments and questions. The HFX says, but an experience can't fade away, Travis. unless you can't hold long-term memories. And what's great too is we have cameras that are
You
very
take photos
accessible.
and videos.
But the problem is, if you get very busy taking photos and videos, you kind of miss out on just experiencing it. We talked a little bit
Right.
about that last week.
Right.
Someone says, Chug a Lug says, I'm poor and I would rather keep my money in my pocket than give it to complete strangers. Oh, well, you can do what you want. Let me see. Carla says, material possessions take a lot of time and effort to keep them in good shape. I know I have classic cars. Well, what kind of classic cars do you have? I'd be very interested to hear that. Uh, Let me see. I'm trying to find the relevant one. So if I'm skipping over these, it's probably not relevant. We can change topics now. Someone says Lucas says was the food bird's nest or shark fin? I'm really not sure.
Maybe shark fin. I'm not sure.
Yoda says
The only shark fin I know is dim sum.
Yoda says wrong character. Maybe I should have ordered a Batman outfit. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I used to have a Batman outfit. It was classic Batman. Also, like when I worked at Six Flags, I was Batman there. That was what they
Right.
hired me to be, the Batman
Right.
that like the guy they have walking around. They have superheroes there. They don't have Superman, but they have the rest of the Justice League. I
Mm-hmm.
was Batman. They have Flash there. They have a Wonder Woman. They have Green Lantern, who was not in that Justice League movie, but he had a bad movie of his own a number of years ago. Uh, Let me see. Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting the comments that you get about what
Yeah.
people value. As was the poll, people here are kind of going back and forth with that. But I thought that Lucas says actual shark's fin is pretty expensive. Well, maybe that's what he had. So yeah, I don't know, but $60,000. I mean, to me, what
Yeah.
would you rather have, a $60,000 meal? Or would you, eat something so rare it costs $60,000? Or would you just rather have someone give you $60,000?
Well,
You
he
know,
doesn't mind because he has a lot of money. Overflowing, I
when you
guess.
have millions, I mean, to him, it's sand off of a beach, so it's not such a problem.
Yeah.
So, and you got your hair cut today.
Yeah. Does it
They
look
can't, they
different?
probably can't really see it
It
on
doesn't
camera.
really look so different because, you know, basically it was just
Why don't you stand up and show them a little bit? Let's see here. They can't
okay.
really see at the
Hold
camera
on.
angle.
Let me see.
It's still long.
Maybe this one.
There you go.
Yeah. You
It's
see it
it's
better.
still pretty
There you
long.
go.
When I met Imabelle so many years
Smooth.
ago,
There.
when I met Imabelle so many years ago, well over a decade ago, she had very short hair. I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think you guys have seen some of the pictures of her
Maybe. Well, those who are on my Facebook could have seen it, or maybe those
in
who saw
some of
your
the
post.
videos
Oh
too.
yeah,
In some
right.
of the videos,
If
we
you've seen
have
the
some
vlogs,
throwback
yes, the previous
videos.
vlogs, you'd see my old photo there, and my short chick
Yeah, she
hairstyle.
had very short hair and she had like one long thing coming down. I like girls with short hair. I like girls with long hair. Short hair can be very cute on girls, especially if that type that's more cute as opposed to hot, sexy girls. Hot, sexy girls should always have long hair. Now, if you're going to be cute, if you're the cute type of girl, more like Imabelle, short hair suits that very well because it's very unique for your personality. You have a very strong personality. You're very assertive. That's actually what I love about Imabelle so much. And
Mm.
I think that's one of the things that attracted me most to her. Also, I think my preference is cute girls. There's For attractive girls, there's two types. There's the hot, sexy girl. Think of someone like Pamela Anderson. There's that type, which is good. I like that type, of course. And then there's the cute girls.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, maybe a celebrity that I think a lot of people would think fits into that category would be someone like Halle Berry. Halle Berry's not hot. Halle Berry's not like a hot, sexy woman. She's not like Marilyn Monroe or James Mansfield, whatever, or Pamela Anderson or Sharon Stone. Those are all hot, sexy girls. Halle Berry is more like she's cute. Like, oh, what a cute girl. You'd probably say something like that about that type of girl. So,
Well, with what you just said, I praise God for the blessings and thank you for the compliments, Travis.
we got Davo Yoda here. Has the atmosphere changed in Manila since Duterte taking office? Safe, a lot safer curfews. I don't answer political questions, especially about politics here, be, uh, but I can answer this question because it's just a general question. One reason, there's two reasons I don't answer political questions about the Philippines. Number one is I don't really care one way or another. Doesn't matter to me what they can do, whatever they want to do with their country. It's not my place to say this isn't my country. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just a guest here. So it wouldn't really be appropriate for me to say criticize local politicians or anything like that. But this is a very general question. Has the atmosphere changed in Manila since the new president took office, like about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I think? Is it safer curfews? And let me take a drink.
I think curfews make any place safer.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that, but the reality is, to answer his question, I don't really know. I don't think it's changed that much, the atmosphere here. I think if anything, it has gotten a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of hard to say because we moved to around the time he took office, so now we're really up high up in the air, so we don't notice things like noise as much,
Yeah.
and we don't really walk around late at
Unless
night
it's
anymore.
super loud.
So
Like, remember, there were a few times that I don't know if it was a store or just a house, just started blasting off loud music like early morning, like around 3 or 4 a.m. And I was like, who is that? What are they doing?
yeah,
Eventually,
but I think someone like called them or showed up. Like I don't know if it was police or
the barangay police, we call
yeah.
them barangay tanon.
But generally, I think it probably's gotten better. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if it's not like some golden paradise. Now,
Mm-hmm.
some like it's kind of a typical third world country in terms of you have a lot of it's really bad, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it is, I mean, it looks really bad, but there's also like really great areas and really great things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a typical third world country. A third world country, most of them, it's not that they're all bad. It's it's they have the best of everything and the worst of everything. And that's exactly how the Philippines is. I mean, they have Lamborghinis here, they have Ferraris, they have magnificent shopping centers, they have big businesses, they have some people living really well, far better than the average American lives. Just like I said, hey, there's a guy from the Philippines that's going and having $60,000 lunches. I would say
Yeah.
that guy's doing pretty well, a guy that can
Yeah.
do that with no sweat. But there's also a lot of people, the majority of people, they're not doing well. Now, and one thing I'd say over the past 10 years, even before the new president took office,
Mm-hmm.
there's a
Keep
growing middle
talking. I'll be back.
there's a growing middle class here as well. So, but to answer that question, which is it's I guess it's an interesting question, probably a lot of my audience would be interested in that. I don't think it's changed that noticeably much, but I'm probably also not the best person to ask that question because I mean, I'm not out in the streets that much anymore. I don't really, especially like in Manila. It's different in my neighborhood. It's different in the building where I live. So I just haven't noticed that much. But maybe someone else that goes out in the streets a lot more, they would be able to tell you better how it's changed. Because since he took office, I haven't really been going out. I don't go around, walk out. I don't walk around in the streets. I don't do a lot of things like that. But if I not a lot. She's saying not a lot of videoke. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. Outside in the streets, we don't really see people in the streets drinking, people getting drunk, and literally in This is something that you'd often see here. People literally getting drunk in the street. They'll like put a table out on the street, like on the side of the street, and they'll just sit there and drink booze and get drunk. They'll have karaoke parties. You don't really see that much anymore. Let me see here. Let me get to another question. My sidekick's gone away, so she can't talk here. Chris Smith says Imabelle's prettier than Pamela Anderson. Well, thank you. Yeah, Pamela Anderson's not really my type. I like hot, sexy women, of course, but she just doesn't do it for me as much. Like I said, I'm more into the cute type anyways. I'm just trying to let me see your questions here. I'm scrolling down. Melvin says, Saki sliming Travis with shaving cream cursed her, Cha Nuk. Well, that's good. You saw the recent vlogs. Yeah, we have a good time with her, definitely. And we have Evan Cortez in the house who says, he says, hey, Travis, who was the girl in the thumbnail for your last live stream? That was from our Halloween video, which I know you saw that. Here's a little interesting thing about Evan Cortez. I'll give him a shout out here. I've had this channel something like 11 years now, and Evan Cortez is my oldest viewer. I don't mean in terms of age. I mean, he's been consistently watching my videos longer than anyone else. Through the different format changes that we've had here, he's been watching. I see him comment on pretty much just about every video that I've uploaded. And if you want to test it, try watching go look at like some of my older videos. I think Evan's probably been watching around 8 or 9 years. He's been watching me on this channel. So thank you very much, Evan. That's a special thing. That's like a special connection. Because there's a lot of people, especially these days on YouTube, something I don't like and is a problem for, me and a lot of other like YouTubers that have had channels a long time. One of the problems they have is in the early days of YouTube, it was very experimental. That was what was fun about it. You could have success doing a variety of different things. Now the only way to be successful on YouTube is to start a channel and only do one thing from day one. You have to pick a niche, and you can't really stray from that niche too much.
So you can't really be so innovative, I think. Or maybe you can.
Well, you have to be innovative in whatever particular genre you've decided to do. That's why, yeah, I mean, I was going to say something, but I won't spill the beans. Let me see here. I'm trying to get to these questions.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another live stream from the Philippines. And
we got a lot of people watching. Where are you guys watching us from? Leave us a comment and tell us where you're currently watching you from, because we'd be really interested to know. And would you like to have us come visit wherever you are? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people watching here from places that we've never been. So make sure to leave us a comment and tell us where you're coming to us from. We got Melvin says, GMC Mack truck over Mount Rushmore vacay spot. I'm not really sure what he's referencing there. So, but leave us a comment and tell us where you're actually watching us from. We've had a lot of really great vlogs lately. The problem with YouTube is you've built up like subscribers and such. Now YouTube doesn't send your videos out to all your subscribers, and I don't think most people know that. They try and show your videos to the people they think are most likely to watch them.
okay.
So they don't send them out to all your subscribers anymore.
So we have these wonderful people joining us from Tokyo, like David, Vancouver,
Really?
The H Effect, Las Vegas, Nevada, Rob Marlife. Paul Putnam is from Ohio, USA.
Oh,
and of
it's a
course,
special
Peter
place
Rocco is
to
in
us.
New York. There. From Central Florida, Orlando area, Bruce. And St. Louis, Missouri, Alvin. Are they there now, Missouri? Do we have family there now?
Not in St. Louis.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think we do have relatives
Yes,
in Missouri.
Peter would
actually.
love to visit.
We have Christopher DeBona joining us.
Hi,
DeBona or Daybona,
Christopher.
I'm not sure exactly how you'd say that. He supports us on Patreon. Thank you
Christopher
very
is part
much.
of our Patreon family. Welcome to the live stream.
He says, I guess he's in his car in Boise, Idaho, with a cup of coffee, driving to a
Oh,
client. Yeah, that's a great way to listen to these live streams since it's not really about the visuals, it's more about what we're saying. So you can probably even offline it in the YouTube
right,
app feature, download it or whatever, and then listen to it while you're out and about, or just put it on in the background while you're cleaning it as you watch the recording. It's fun when you're with us live, of course, because we can interact with you. And I think that these live streams are probably the most fun things we do
yeah,
right now for
that's
me.
true.
We got Anthony Glass from North Central Texas, Fort Worth area. Y'all come visit Texas. It's a whole other country. And in fact, in one time in history, briefly, it was a country, literally. It's big enough to be to really be
Right,
a standalone country, bigger than a lot of countries in Europe would be physically. But
right,
it was a country briefly.
that's true. Let's try.
We got
Let's
someone coming to us from Georgia. His screen name is Make
make our
Our Country
country
Great
great
Again.
again.
And if he's in Georgia, I guess his country would be America.
Right. We also have joining us Ray from New York, Jacob McCoy from California. Let's see. Claire Ann is studying in Los Angeles, California. Cool. And of course, from Santa Rosa, Laguna. Cool.
Philippines,
Yes, in the Philippines.
not Laguna, California.
That's
Got to specify that.
Citational. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it right.
When I first, I remember, in 2005, 2006, I had these friends, and they were always talking about going to Laguna. And for the longest time, I thought they were talking about California, and not the place outside of Manila.
Yeah, joining us from Jacksonville, Florida, less than 10A. Thank you.
We got Devin Walsh that says, Hi from Ontario, Canada. I've been to Ontario, Canada, not for many years, but I've been there. I've been to Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which, if you don't know the geography of that area, it's right across the river from Detroit, Michigan. And I believe that's the only place along the US Canadian border where to get to Canada from the United States, you actually have to drive south.
Hmm.
So you drive south from the United States to get to Canada. And they used to call Windsor the safe side of Detroit. That's what they used to call it. Windsor was well known for casinos because they didn't have gambling legal in that part of the United States. But then they realized, hey, we're losing out on a lot of money. So they opened up all these big casinos and MGM Grand, all these other ones, really huge casinos in Detroit. They wanted to make it kind of like another Las Vegas.
Hmm.
Now, I haven't really heard too much about the casinos in Detroit, but I don't think it panned out.
Hmm.
I don't really hear people wanting to schedule vacations to Detroit. You hear that, of course, about Las Vegas, which has set themselves up that way. But Detroit as far as I know, no one's wanting to take a vacation there. If you don't know Detroit, Detroit is a weird place. I went to college about 30 minutes outside of Detroit, and it's so weird because it's like a third world country within our country. And you can drive right outside of Detroit and you can find a lot of really nice things and nice areas. Like I said, it's just like a third world country. They're super nice. But once you see the sign that says Detroit city limits, it's like it becomes completely terrible.
Oh,
And most big cities like Chicago has a bad reputation these days for being so dangerous and so ugly. But Chicago actually has nice parts. Chicago has bad parts, but they actually have nice parts like most big cities. Detroit, when you're within city limits of Detroit, I don't think there's any nice parts. Maybe there's like a 1 or 2 block radius, like right in the downtown area where they have those big buildings. Maybe you could kind of say, well, that's kind of nice, but literally it's only like 2 or 3 blocks that are actually considered nice. And as soon as you get away from that, it becomes hell on earth. It's really that bad. You've never been there, but I'm sure you'd like to see it just to see like how terrible it is.
yeah. Well, thank you for that. I'm trying to visualize it. Okay, let's see, we also have from Angeles City, Philippines, Philly in the Philippines.
Angeles City, Philippines.
Yeah,
Not Los Angeles.
Angeles City. That's how we say it in the Philippines.
It's a pretty wild, it's known for being that area is known for being a very wild part of the country. That's like the main area for sleazy stuff. I guess we'll put it that way. Trying to keep a
There's a certain area they are not like. Yeah. Chug a lug dog. You guys are my favorite internet family. Thank you so much,
well, thank you for
Chug.
that.
Yeah.
Um, Someone says, well, I'm not going to answer that because it's a political statement, but it reminds me, Bruce's comment reminds me of the former mayor of Detroit, who was a total thug. They ended up locking him up, I believe, for corruption. So I think
Mhm.
he actually went to jail, the mayor of the city,
Oh, and try to.
which is good that they didn't let him get away with that, actually. Melvin says Detroit automobile capital of
Of America.
America.
Yeah.
That's why they call it the Motor City. But now they make even a lot of American cars they make in places like Mexico.
Mhm.
So uh, I don't know. I like a lot of American cars. I love cars. Most men do. I like the classic American cars, but I don't know. Like I think our auto industry, they've done a lot of bad things. They've really messed over their shareholders, people that had stocks in their company. They got bailouts and they gave big bonuses to the CEOs of their companies. Meanwhile, the stock was devalued for their people that actually invested in their companies. My
Mhm.
grandfather was invested in he had stocks in some of those auto companies. And I don't know if you guys remember several years ago they did bailouts. Our government did bailouts. They bailed out banks, seems really strange, but we could go on and on about that. They also did it for the auto companies. And then what happened is they gave all their CEOs all these bonuses while they devalued their stock. They
Oh.
didn't pass it along to the common man. So it kind of makes me ashamed. Like I was always someone that would generally prefer to buy American, but that's a real turnoff for what those auto companies did.
Well, also joining us from Portland, Oregon, Paul S. We also have from Las Vegas, Serviliana Michelle.
I heard there's a lot of weirdos up there in Portland, Oregon.
Really?
I don't know. I haven't been there though. So I'm just telling you what I hear. Portland and Seattle, tons of weirdos all over the streets. That's what I hear. I mean, I haven't been there to that part of
Well,
the
what does
country.
Paul
So
S say?
so they have a show called Portlandia, which I think kind of pokes fun at life in Portland. They do different sketches, and I think it's
Hmm.
kind of about Portland and like parodying all the weird people that live there. Like I see skits. I don't have the channel. It's not on a channel that we get, but sometimes I come across them online, and usually there's some sort of like ultra liberal, like hippie type SJW, and they kind of portray that kind of craziness. So I've
Hmm.
seen a couple clips from it. It's pretty funny, but I believe that's what that show's about, Portlandia. Um, Peter says, Imabelle, your haircut looks great.
Thank you, Peter.
Bruce says, actually, it's Dearborn. Well, Dearborn is where Ford is based, actually.
Okay.
Um, that's interesting fact about Michigan. It's the state with the most Muslims in the entire United States. That's Michigan. And
Mm.
if you go to Dearborn, where Ford is located, it seems like that town seems to be mostly Muslims.
Great.
So, but Chrysler and GM, they're in other parts. Dearborn, if you don't know it, is right next to Detroit. I used to go to the mall there. They had a good food court at that mall. They had this like chicken place that I used to eat at a lot.
Chicken. And let's see. Hold on. That was fast.
What
Uh,
U.S. city, David says, what U.S. city do you think is best to raise a family? Boy, that's a hard question, my friend, because things are changing so much and often not for the better. I mean, we're just talking about Detroit. in the 1930s and 1940s, Detroit was one of the premier cities of the world. It was known as the Paris of the United States. Well, now look at Paris. You know, that's not so nice from what I hear. I haven't been there, but I've seen clips, pictures, and stuff. It's hard to know the context of those, how, you know, when you're not there. But I can tell you this, Detroit is probably at least one of the worst, if not the worst place in the entire United States. But when you hear what it was decades ago, you're just like, I can't, if you saw it today, you'd never be able to believe that that was some premier, stunning, beautiful, amazing city. You can see the remnants of it, some of the old buildings and stuff you can see and think, wow, back in the day, I bet those were really something. Those were really impressive. But things change, especially over the course of decades. These changes that happen, it doesn't happen in a year. It doesn't happen in a couple years. I know maybe it does in some places. We're going through this in North Dakota right now. North Dakota, when I grew up there, it very much had kind of a Leave It to Beaver vibe. That
Mm-hmm.
wholesome, all America. We didn't have criminals there. Now we had the worst. I'll say this: when I was growing up, you didn't get along with everyone, but our worst people in my city, in the capital city of North Dakota, the worst people we had, they were jerks. That's it. They were just jerks. They're a guy you don't like, a guy that you don't get along with, maybe, but they're not a criminal. They're not going to, rob your grandmother or something. It's not like that. But now things are changed. Look at Minneapolis. That's the closest big city to there. A few decades ago, I think like in the 1980s, people will tell you how great it was, and now it's just it's disgusting. The place is a dump. So, and unfortunately, there's going to be a lot more cities becoming like that in America with the way things are going.
Well, hopefully there's still a remedy to that.
Just going through these. Paul says he toured the River Rouge plant of Ford in 1979. They were building Mustangs, but since it was 1979, they were building some pretty crappy Mustangs. I'll tell you that. That era of Mustang is known as like the worst Mustangs. The 70s Mustangs and 80s Mustangs. Some people really like them though, actually. So I don't want to shame you if you're into that kind of thing, but most people aren't. Those are kind of known as the bad era for Mustangs. And now Mustangs, of course, are they're doing pretty well. I actually have a relative that collects Mustangs,
That's so cool.
and they just had a car show, and he had some of his Mustangs there. Uh, let me see. Peter says IFC does Portlandia. I guess he knows that. Melvin says Prince, Minnesota, Madonna, Michigan, Michael Jackson, Indiana. That's
Join,
true.
yeah, let me just butt in. Joining us is part of our Patreon family, Edward Latz. Hi, Edward.
Oh, hi, Edward. Oh, hi, Mark. If
I
you
know.
if you've seen the movie The Room, which we just
Yeah,
watched. I did not hit her. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. That
that's
famous
classic.
scene. That
Yeah,
famous scene. Uh,
acting without no shifting at all.
Less than 10A says they're trying to get Sharia law in that part of Michigan. Meaning Sharia law, he says, meaning Sharia law would be above the U.S. Constitution. Well, like I just said, America's a changing. So it's not you know the kind of Leave It to Beaver thing that I grew up in most parts of the country, and even parts of the country like that. They're changing and not for the better, but it amazes me how stupid some of those people that live in those places are, that they think that these things aren't going to happen. They don't see it coming. I'm someone that's lived in a lot of big cities, even international big cities, of course.
Hmm.
But I mean, even look at where I used to live in Los Angeles that we talked about a couple live streams ago. I used to live in Koreatown in Los Angeles. If you went to Koreatown in the 20s and 30s, that's where the movie stars were living. Clark Gable lived in that area when
Hmm.
he was one of the biggest stars in the world. He was living in that area. Not what's Koreatown, but right next to it, like a block away from the border. And Now, if you go to it, the place is a filthy dump. It's full of MS-13 gang members. It's it's I don't know. It's just kind of I guess that's why the rent is cheap there because it is a filthy dump. But decades ago, God, almost 100 years ago now, and you can see too. You look at some of the old buildings, you think, man, that must have been something.
Well, things change so fast. Time, you know, as time goes by, just things change a lot. So,
Uh, we got someone asking, have we been to Australia? Go ahead, answer that.
which one? To
Both of
Australia?
us. Have we been to Australia?
Oh, not yet. Would love to go there in God's time.
Yeah, I've never been to Australia either. So if you're coming to us from Australia, good day, mate. Uh, Trying to give them a little bit of local greeting in a bad accent. Sorry about that. We had some videos with Australians. They
Yeah,
they came here as actors. They were doing a what show was that?
Les Miserables.
They were actors in the show Les Miserables. We went to it. We got some videos with some of those guys. We collaborated. They invited us to the show. Was it the premiere? I think it was the premiere night.
I think it was the gala. I can't
Yeah.
remember exactly.
And boy, I'd never seen a live show like that. I'm not the type that's really into plays and stuff, but
Hmm.
that was impressive.
Of course.
And they actually have a series they did on YouTube that it's kind of half fictional, half kind of based off of real life. What's
Right.
that called? What was that called?
Actors in, what's that?
Actors in Manila. It's kind of a
Actors in Manila.
mockumentary. I was in it.
Mockumentary.
I was in an episode of it, uh, acting, but I was playing myself because it was a mockumentary, and yeah, it was interesting.
We also have Australian viewers and
We have a
subscribers.
lot of people
In
viewing from
fact,
Australia.
whenever they come here to visit, they always include us in their travel itinerary, and that's so heartwarming.
Jason H says hello. Hello, Jason. Edward says, I went to Detroit in the 70s. I went uh, to some of the plants where they were building the cars, but I don't even remember much about the city itself. But the people had some classic cars they fix up. Well, I think Detroit was already a dump by the 70s. It just wasn't the way it was. I think since like the 50s, basically after World War II, I think it's been progressing decade by decade to the point where it is now. But it's maybe you should see it someday just to see like what a what a place that bad looks like, especially within our own country.
Well, hopefully it will change for the better still.
Derek Robbins says, have you been to the UK? If so, where? What was your impression of Great Britain? No, I've never been to Great Britain. I wouldn't mind going though. I hear a lot about it. It's in the news a lot,
My
of
brother
course.
likes it.
Oh, your brother lives in Great Britain. Well, what country does he live in? Tell me.
He's in Ireland, but he travels a lot there. So,
Now, is that part of Great Britain? Or, because there's the UK and there's Great Britain.
well, let Derek tell us then.
Tell us the difference between Tell us the difference between Great Britain and the UK. I think I kind of know what the difference is. I believe the UK includes one or two more countries than than what's called Great Britain. Am I correct on that? I believe that's the case. The UK has
Oh
one or two
wow,
more
Evan
countries.
Cortez was just in London, as a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago. Wow. How is it? I'm sure you love it. I should check out your channel and see your videos. Did you shoot videos there? I should check them out.
Your brother likes London quite a bit, doesn't
Yeah,
he? Yeah, he
he
tells us he
does.
likes it,
Hmm.
which I would kind of expect in a way
I wouldn't mind going there to
because
visit.
it's so different from here.
Yeah.
Let me see here. He was also in, oh, I think he's answering my questions. Northern Ireland is part of Great Britain. I don't think Ireland is part of Great Britain, but it might be part of the UK.
Where is that? Which one are you reading?
Right there, where
Okay.
he says that.
Well, thank you for that. And let's see. Evan answered it, right? Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
got it.
Northern Ireland and Ireland
Thank
are
you,
separate
Evan.
countries. I don't think most people
Well,
in America
Evan,
would
when are
know
you
that.
gonna visit the Philippines again?
Yeah, when are you going to
Our
visit?
dear alma mater misses you.
They both went to the
Do
same
you even
university.
miss your dear alma mater? We were just there
We were,
last
yeah,
week.
we were just there.
Yeah,
What school is that?
the University of Santo Tomas. There you go. Let's see. Oh, okay. I'll check them out then, Evan.
We got less than 10. He says he went to Michigan a few years back for a basketball tournament. Was not impressed with Detroit, but liked the town of Novi, the site of the tournament. Yeah, I'm sure I've been to Novi. I don't remember it offhand, though, but I'm sure I've been there. Um, that's outside of Detroit. It's like in
Mm-hmm.
the metropolitan area, but not Detroit itself. Let me see. Jason Jones says Ireland is not part of Great Britain, and Evan is going to come to the Philippines in 2019.
Oh,
And
exciting.
you guys both went to the University of.
Yeah, as he said, USD baby.
What's good about the University of Santo Tomas?
Aaron, help me. Well, USD is one of the most prestigious universities in the Philippines, and I'm thankful and blessed to, for being able to go there for college.
And I gave a speech at the end of last year at that school. The video is on this channel. It's in our vlog series. But so it has to be a good school if they're asking me to come give speeches there. They must know what they're doing.
Yeah, okay, fine. Citational. Travis and Imabelle, any tips on learning Filipino? Well, actually, that's a good question. I teach English to Filipinos. I was a teacher at a university teaching English and communication subjects. I also teach English to. I also taught English online to Japanese, Koreans. That was really fun, and I also teach Filipino, of course. So I think one very important thing to know first is what level are you. So if you have a teacher, the teacher will be able to give you the appropriate lessons for you. And what else? Travis, since you speak Filipino, what tip
What
can you
tips can
give?
I give? Well, it's kind of a hard one because I wasn't expecting to get
Have
it.
a teacher like me.
You kind of,
Just kidding.
it's kind of hard to learn on your own in a way because you need to hear it because otherwise you'll mispronounce words if you just study on your own and you're just reading. So you need to somehow be able to hear someone say it.
Right.
Uh, we've did all kinds of different exercises from reading to writing exercises to at one point I was writing like little monologues or short stories. I'd write them in English, then I'd translate it into Filipino, and then I would actually go the extra step of I would memorize it, and then I'd recite it on camera without being able to look at it, kind of like as an acting exercise too.
Yeah.
So uh, like you have to learn your lines, but if you learn them in a foreign language, you're
Mm-hmm.
probably not going to really forget. So that was like a very it's not that difficult for me maybe because of just being used to having to memorize lines. So, but for the other person, just that itself, they can't even memorize lines. And most people, if they're not trained actors, can't memorize lines in their native language. So try doing it in a foreign language. I think it
Yeah.
really helps you to learn that way, though. That's why I did it.
Yeah. Also, as the cliche goes, practice makes perfect. So, if you can practice, if you can speak Filipino with someone who really knows the language, then do it. If you have a teacher, then, have more exercises, and that will really help as well. Hungry La Cochera. Hi, Travis. I'm a big fan.
Well, thank you very much. I got to explain here.
He or she is she, La Cochera, is very friendly there. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead.
Well, I'm kind of leaning in here when I speak, so maybe I sound louder than you, is kind of what I was thinking. I need to get an external mic, is what I
Mm.
need to buy. Thank you to those that are supporting us on Patreon, and the link is in the description if you want to do that. It helps us keep these running and like buy things when I need to buy. I actually need to get this I need to get my computer fixed because look at this if you can see it. My keyboard hasn't worked for almost a year, so I plug in an external keyboard.
Yeah.
But it's very inconvenient, and when we're going to be traveling and stuff, uh, it's very hard to do. Jason Jones says, Travis, why don't you promote Ema's channel? Go ahead, Imabelle, promote your channel.
Actually, the thing is, I haven't uploaded a video for a long time already.
Yeah.
I feel bad about that, but I also have been busy with other things. But hopefully, I'll be able to upload videos again soon. Yeah, so, but if you can check out my channel, I have some videos there.
What's the channel
And
name?
Ima Speak. So that's IMA space speaks. SPEAKS. There. And let's see.
One thing that I would like to address, we were talking about wealth earlier and wealthy people and the lifestyles of wealthy people, how a lot of them like having these great experiences,
Hmm.
often more than they enjoy physical things. Um, it's interesting to get to know some of these people.
Yeah.
When the people that we know, it is interesting how that's their thing. But me personally, I also enjoy experiences. Uh, it's nice to have money because money it's a necessity and everything you want to do costs money. Whether it's us running this YouTube channel, like I said, I need to buy a microphone, I need to get my laptop fixed, you need to buy cameras from now and then, and you have to spend money doing things for the video usually if you're doing something like us. But money, of course, is nowhere near the most important thing in life. It's important though, but I would say the number one most important thing in life is health. And health is the kind of thing, being healthy doesn't make you happy. But when you lose your good health, you can't have fun. It's very hard to be happy if you're in poor health. And I mean, both physically healthy as well as mentally healthy. We were just talking about Howie Mandel, who you worked with.
Right.
Yeah, because we went someplace last night and you said, "Oh, that's the hotel where Howie stayed." You worked on an episode,
Howie and then Raj, of course, the staff
the staff, yeah.
from Deal or No Deal US when they came to the Philippines.
Deal or No Deal, that was a show he used to host. And they came to the Philippines to tape an episode, and you worked on that episode.
Hmm.
But Howie Mandel, he's very well known for being germophobic. And you were saying how he doesn't shake hands with people, and
Yeah.
people were kind of briefed about that, right?
Yes.
Um, I was
Fist
thinking,
bump.
they do the fist bump, and
Yeah.
I heard Howie Mandel talking during a radio interview one time about how when he goes to a hotel, he puts towels down on the floor because he's paranoid about walking on the carpeting without shoes on. I don't know how he knows the towels are clean unless he's bringing towels with him everywhere he travels. But I was thinking, Howie Mandel, he's a guy that has a lot of success, he has a lot of money, but would it be worth it to go through life with that kind of mental disorder? Because even though you have all that money and success, you can't really be comfortable a lot of the time because you have that mental anxiety.
It didn't look uncomfortable though. when I was talking to them and stuff.
Well, something
when I
happened.
sat down and chatted with them.
Something happened when he arrived at the airport, like with like the staff of their show.
Which one?
The car didn't something happen to his
Oh
car?
yeah. No, cause I was in charge of meeting the entire staff of Deal or No Deal USA.
You went to pick him up from the airport
Yes,
with other
with
people from
yes,
ABS.
Howie Mandel and the entire staff from the US, and of course, we already had this special vehicle assigned for that. Unfortunately, on the way, it did not really work so well.
Going to the airport, you mean it did?
No, going to ABS-CBN.
After picking them up at the
Yes,
airport.
but in fairness to them, I didn't see them really complaining and stuff.
Did
They
the
were
car break down after picking
no,
them
not
up?
really. I can't remember exactly if it was the air conditioner. It wasn't a major issue, so that was kind of tolerable. So when we got to the channel, I mean the ABS-CBN, the host of Deal or No Deal in the Philippines, and I worked with for several years, of
Who
course.
was the host?
Chris Aquino.
Okay.
She was there with the entire staff and the big bosses in ABS-CBN. And so they met Howie and the team. And so when Chris learned that there was a problem with the vehicle that we provided for Howie, she volunteered her own vehicle, of course, a very expensive, fancy car she has.
What kind of car did she have?
I don't remember. I think he
Was it a
saw that.
Lamborghini?
No,
They wouldn't be able to fit very
it's
many in that.
huge. Like what actors and celebrities have here.
Was it like a big SUV or something like that?
Yes, but I can't remember the brand, guys. I'm
It's
not
probably
really
like a
a
big.
car girl.
It was
So
probably like a big Ford, which those are pretty
I
expensive
think
here.
so.
A
Yes.
lot of the wealthier people in this country, in the Philippines, they like to drive those big Ford SUVs. Especially back at that time, they were kind of a status symbol.
Yeah. And also, one of the staff of Deal or No Deal US was talking to me like somehow they thought it would be a limousine that would pick him up, something like that. But I said we don't really have that here. So that was it. That was a great part of my TV production experience, I would say. That's one of the highlights, milestones, I would say.
Well, I know when I met you, you were saying you always want to work on a United States, an
Yes.
American production, like a movie
Yes.
or TV show or something like that.
Yes.
And then it happened for you. You
I
worked on an American
know.
show.
That was
You did it in the Philippines, but you worked on an
yes.
actual American show and a very popular American show
Right.
when that was on.
And what's good is I'm able to keep in touch with some of the people I got to work with.
And
So,
I hear that they commented on the way you speak. Tell
oh
us about
yeah,
that.
that was so heartwarming to hear. So I was chit-chatting with the staff while waiting for Howie and the other people arriving at the airport. And then one of them, the producer, asked me, "So how long have you been living in the Philippines?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I was born here from birth." And then she said, "Oh, because I thought you're American." I was like, "No, I was born here." And then the other one said, "You have what's the word again? Now I can't remember even. I'm like just um now help me recall that. I just love that word she said. I don't use it every day. Yeah, there you go. Yes, why would I forget it? She said, because your English is impeccable. So I think that time it was impeccable. And then just a trivia, when I started hosting my radio show, I had to adjust to my market, to my audience. So I adjusted it in a way that would be that my listeners, most of my listeners, will be able to relate to. So it was more like a Filipino English, style. So there. Anything else?
I remember one time I was talking to you on Yahoo Messenger through the video chat.
Mhm.
I was in Los Angeles. You were here, of
Oh
course,
yeah,
in the
Yahoo
Philippines.
Messenger guys.
And this was really a long time ago. We were
Right.
talking through video messenger, and I had a friend in the house at the time. And this is a guy that worked in television in Hollywood,
Mhm.
and he heard us talking. And he's like, "Oh, that's her. It's Imabelle." And then he came over to talk to you, and he said, "What do you do for a living?" And Imabelle says, "I work in television." Well, first of all, he goes like he's like, where are you at? Because he heard a little bit about you, but he didn't know where you were.
Mhm.
And he said, "I'm in the Philippines," and he's like, "Oh, but where are you from originally?" And you said, "I'm from the Philippines," and he was very shocked. He's like, "Really? You speak so well. I thought you
Thank
were
you.
He's like, "I thought you were an American." Or no, or like that was after this other thing, I think.
Mhm.
He goes, "What do you do for a living?" and
Mhm.
you said, "Oh, I work in television," which is he works in television too, but you said, "I
Yeah.
work in television,"
Right.
and he goes, "Oh, what show? Maybe I know you, or maybe I know
Uh-huh.
some of the other
Uh-huh.
people." And you go, "No, I don't think so. I work in television. I work on a TV show in the Philippines." And he goes, "The Philippines has TV? They make TV there? I didn't know that." I guess he thought that they weren't capable of
We're so
making a TV
primitive.
show.
You
Yeah.
thought it was so primitive?
I don't know if he thinks it's like Gilligan's Island where you're all living in huts and you don't have electricity. Now, some people, a lot of people in this country actually do live that way, but that was so funny how he didn't know the Philippines could make a TV show and that they have television here.
Well, that time, the Deal or No Deal US did not tape in the Philippines yet that time, I guess. Yeah.
Um, Chris Allen says about the cars that we were talking about. He says Ford Expedition. Yeah, I knew a lot of people that had those
Oh
back
yeah,
in the
that
day.
was very common. Like,
It's a very popular car
yeah,
here for upper
it
class
it
people.
started it started to get so popular like 2000. What year was that? 2000,
I remember them being around
2006
like yeah,
or
2005,
2005
2006,
onwards. But
2007.
I don't really see that much
They're
now.
kind of out of fashion, though they have those
Yeah,
new Chevy
but I like it.
they have these new ones, these Chevys that are pretty nice
Yeah,
SUVs that people
because
are driving around.
I remember I even had a friend who worked at the U.S. Embassy, and their vehicles were like that. And of course, I think most of them were bulletproof. So there. Let's check out more comments. Let's see.
Let me see. I'm trying to scroll back to some of the ones.
Yeah, because
I
the
saw
comments
one.
are moving fast, so hopefully,
I saw one that someone said back there. I can't find it right now, but they said someone really enjoyed our video where we went to Hotel Sogo. That was a very cool video, actually. It just
yeah,
kind of I wasn't planning on that being a
that
whole
was.
video,
Yeah, we didn't plan on reviewing it like the way we did, but
and we weren't going to do a review. That's right.
because of the experience, we opted to share with you guys on that video how it went. And yeah, that was really fun. And Foley could go check out the video if you haven't seen it yet.
Sometimes those hard experiences and those weird experiences, they really make for good videos. We were not going to do a whole video about that. I
Right.
was kind of like shooting some stuff, and I thought, yeah, this will be part of another vlog, like our experience here. But as we were there, things got weirder and weirder, but it made for kind of a good video, a funny video. It's funny. It's funny. Some people didn't like that video. They were very offended by it, such as the people that owned the place.
Well,
They didn't like it.
before we actually uploaded the video, we
Oh,
reached
that's a
out.
good point.
Yeah, we reached out to them several times because one, we know them and we were supposed to work with them. It's more like to be objective, and the video is objective, of course, because you're just reviewing and
Yeah.
telling your experience. It's just showing the experience, and at the same time showing what's also good about it. So basically, that's it. We have hotel reviews of high end and budget hotels. So that was one for the budget hotels.
Well, you brought up something that I think is very important. That we actually we had these problems when we stayed there, and I filmed it. I documented it, and I wanted to be fair to the business. I don't want to just go around trashing people's businesses. I don't want to hurt people's income. That's not what I'm about. And I know through dealing with a lot of different companies, most of the time, not just companies, but even regular people, if you have a problem, you should always reach out to that person, whether it's a company or just another human being that you have an issue with, and say and let them know. Just call them up, send them an email, whatever, and say, hey, I have this issue. This is how I feel about it. This is how it's impacting me, and give them a chance to respond. Because a lot of the times they won't even know you have an issue. So, just to be fair, especially when you're dealing with a business, before you get angry at a business and go and post a nasty review of them online, hurting their reputation and their business, reach out to them first because they're probably not even aware you have a problem. So, therefore, they can't have a chance to fix it or somehow make you at least feel better, at least explain themselves.
Right.
So I reached out to this hotel like three different ways. We reached out by phone, we reached out through email, and through, I think, Facebook and Twitter. They ignored me. I explained what happened and everything. They wouldn't get back to me. They even inside the room, they even had this number and they have this guy's picture that works for the company. He says, "This is my private number. If you have any issues or problems, don't be afraid to call or text. Don't be afraid to text me." I think it said. I
Yeah.
texted that number. Nothing.
We
And days
called that number.
before we released the video, actually
Right.
several days went by because they didn't want to release it right away and make them look bad or whatever. I just wanted to give them a chance to properly explain and
Hmm.
maybe say, hey, that's not the typical experience. I don't know. I just wanted to get their side of the story. So they ignored us. But then we released the video and it started getting thousands of views every day and it got ended up getting over 2 million views after being up online for like a few days after it was going viral. Someone from the company reached out to us
Hmm.
and they wanted to talk then, but it's like, you know what? I reached out to you guys. I went above and beyond and reached out to you guys, and you completely ignored me. And
Hmm.
now that you see that this video is going viral, after I gave you plenty of chances to get back to me, now you want to talk. You want to like be my buddy all of a sudden. And I thought, it's too little, too late. Just forget it. I just kind of said, well, we explained ourselves. Look, it wasn't our intention to make you look bad. We were just documenting our experience, and hopefully this helps you improve yourself in the future. And look, I reached out to you guys over and over. I gave you guys several days to get back to me. Nothing. You guys didn't care. Now you care all of a sudden, and that's not really
Plus,
fair either.
the reason why we shared that video with you guys, because one of the most frequently asked questions that we receive from the viewers worldwide, are, I mean, is travel tip, like hotel recommendation and stuff like that. So that was it. By the way, Chris Allen, thank you so much for the compliment. And I agree with you. Make our country great again. Put up your treasures in heaven. That's a sure thing, and
Make
that's really
heaven great
true.
again.
It's been always great, no matter what. It never changes. So that's a place, a perfect place to look forward to.
Speaking
There you
about
go.
these reviews, I haven't done many reviews. I I kind of like to feature places because I think a review is a little different. If you're going to do a review, you have to be very familiar with what you're reviewing, have a lot of experience with it. Usually, not always, but depending what it is. And I think you got to really get, if you're going to do a review, it should be in depth. As if you're just featuring a place, you're just kind of showing it and showing a general experience of it. But a review, you really got to get to the nitty gritty, look at what's good as well as what's bad, and kind of try and address those issues of both what's good and what's bad to give the viewer, the consumers, a proper warning and let them know what to look out for. Now, we had a similar experience. We had a video that got somewhat popular, uh, a review of China Southern Airlines, and a lot of people
Right.
liked that video, but I get so much hate on a daily basis from that video. I think there's Chinese people actually like Chinese trolls. It's probably their job. They're probably getting paid to like harass me and leave bad comments for me on that video. Seriously, because the Chinese government actually does. I think most do. The United States does, and we're not going to kid ourselves about that. Hillary Clinton definitely. I think it's proven that she had paid online trolls like on Facebook. Uh, Most countries have it, so it's just a common practice. Big businesses have this. It's just a common thing. They'll trash their competitors and they'll also go on their thing and say good things about themselves. Like for example, they estimate that about 30% of online reviews on things like Yelp, Amazon, about 30% are fake. That's both positive and negative. 30% are fake,
Hmm.
which kind of makes sense if you think about it. That's one reason I don't really trust online reviews. Or I try and like click the profile and check what else they've reviewed. Some of those things are pretty obvious. IMDb has lots of fake reviews, especially for lower budget movies. You can see if there's a review before the movie's even released, and it's
Hmm.
some like low budget, really terrible movie, and it's 10 stars out of 10 on IMDb,
Hmm.
and they're talking, you can just tell it's obvious. But with China Southern Airlines, Um, it was another thing too where we documented an experience. We had a less than stellar experience on the way back from the United States, going back to the Philippines, and we documented the whole thing. But before releasing the video, I reached out to them also several different means, and I tried to let them know this was our experience. I have a video review coming out. You guys should know, but if you guys have another explanation or something that's relevant, let me know because I want to be fair to you
Mhm.
too. And most of them, I think one through email or something or through Facebook, I think one of them actually someone typed back, "Oh, go ahead and release the video." It's like, okay. And now I'm getting, the Chinese people are hating me on it, but who cares? They're trying to salvage their reputation. By the way, for that review, I didn't just trash their airline. I said what I liked about the airline because there was things that I thought were pretty good about, but I also said what I didn't like about it, and I just gave the consumer information so they can make a purchasing decision. I didn't say, "Oh, you should not buy tickets with this airline," nor did I say, "Oh, you should buy tickets with them." It was a very fair and balanced review going into in depth pretty much what I thought was good about the airline and what I thought was not good about the airline. But boy, that's one of the videos I think I've released that has offended people more than anything. I don't care though, especially since they're mostly like Chinese people that would never watch one of my videos anyways. I mean, come on, man.
Well, the reality is whether you share something with good intention, there are still people who get offended, or there are still people who would hate you. That's just, the reality. So, but if you know that what you're doing is right and it's helping other people, then what's wrong with that? Just my thought.
I'm going to scooch out here for a minute. I'm kind of trapped in here. I grabbed the wrong thing.
Why is it?
So
Are you
I,
getting
I have one
soda?
that's open. I have one that's open. I
Okay.
shouldn't open a new one. I
Okay.
need a drink. I'm a little thirsty, guys.
Let me
I
grab
have I have a
soda.
new vlog coming out soon though.
Yeah, he's been finishing a new vlog, so watch out for that, guys.
It's a pretty darn good one too.
Yeah, I like it. Well, like all of them, anyways. Well, it's nice to see you guys. Also, leaving your suggestions, so everyone who is joining us right now would see your suggestions, like in terms of airlines and all these other things. Yeah,
Okay, I'm back.
just like from Citational, Anthony Glass, Jason Jones, they've they have their airline suggestions.
I'm just getting a drink. It gets
Yeah.
very thirsty talking
Speaking
nonstop.
of airlines, though, so far with my experience with Delta Airlines, I had a great experience with them, especially with the customer service representative that I talked to on the phone when we were in America. She really is very nice, and she went. I think she was not supposed to do that, but she did it anyways. So she went the extra miles to help me, to help us, and to give us that deal. Well, anyways, I don't have
Yeah, we
to.
actually yeah
Yeah, okay.
we had an issue where we were trying to change our tickets, the dates of them, and we had an employee that really helped us out and did a phenomenal job
Yeah.
of doing our job. Now, here's the thing when you're dealing with airlines and delays and stuff like that, they're all going to have delays, they're all going to have issues. It's not a biz owning an airline and servicing people in that way, it's not something that you can always do completely smoothly. There's always going to be hiccups. There's always going to be issues. There's going to be
Hmm.
delays. We understand all that
Well,
stuff.
especially if it is caused by, you know, out of, things that we can control, like weather, you know. So that's understandable.
Let me look at the comments here.
Okay.
Now they're talking about airlines.
Yeah, that's why I said it's good that you guys are sharing your suggestions. So,
Anthony Glass is still in the room giving his thoughts. Anthony, I think he's been here since the beginning. I think we've been going on almost an hour and a half
well,
now.
thank you. And Dan Caller, thank you for joining us as well. Less than 10 8, thank you for joining us.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. I got off subject. I don't think I ever answered that when I was talking about what's more important than money. Money is one of the most important things. I remember in 2007, I flew to North Dakota and I was visiting. I went out to eat with my grandpa at a Golden Corral buffet, which they no longer have there. They shut it down, not because there was problems. I think they just the unemployment rate is so low around there. They can't. A lot of restaurants, a lot of businesses are going out of business just because they can't hire staff for them
Mm-hmm.
because people there's so few. I mean, there's no one to hire for them. The unemployment rate is too low. So there's a lot of businesses just going out of businesses, like going out of business, like restaurants. So many restaurants have gone out of business because they can't find staff to work them. I think that's what their issue was, Golden Corral. Love that place, but I went there with my grandfather. This was 2007, and I was complaining about something. I remember I complained, and I said, "Yeah, but it costs money." That's what I said something to him. I don't remember what I was talking about. Like it was good, but yeah, it costs money. And my grandpa goes, "Well, everything in life costs money. You can't get away with that." And then I thought about that, and I thought, that's true. Everything costs money. Therefore, of course, money is going to be extremely important to your life.
Right.
Uh, no matter who you are, it's going to be important. But there are things that are more important. And I can easily think of a couple right off the top of my head. Number one, like I said before, is health. Health is one of those things when you're healthy, it doesn't make you happy. But if you don't have your health, you can't do anything. And health is the kind of thing like money can't really buy it for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't cheat death no matter how much money you have. And there's a lot of things that you get, a lot of problems you can get that money can't really solve. And there's nothing you can do about it. So health is easily number one.
Hence the saying, health is wealth.
That's true. That's a form of wealth, anyways.
Yeah.
And other than that, and this is something that I've learned, I'd say number two thing after your health, I would say the number two most important thing in life is family.
Of course.
And I've mostly learned that from you, actually.
I'm glad to hear that.
Even like I'm much more close to my parents, my grandfather, and stuff as a result of having you there and having you around.
I'm very glad to hear that. Well, it's all for the blessing. And Don Caller said, is it Caller? Kohler. Okay.
Kohler.
Okay. It's still here, and I don't want to pronounce it because I might not mispronounce it.
I can't
Um,
pronounce that. It's like Kuar de Aline,
I have to double check that
Idaho.
later in
I've never
Idaho.
heard of that.
Okay. Golden Corral rocks. Want to go there?
I
Hometown
would
went out
love
of
to go
business.
there, but I don't know.
Hometown buffet, is that where we went in LA? Is that right? Hometown buffet? Yeah, because he said, I remember you mentioning
We
the
went to
two on the video.
Hometown Buffet by the
Yeah,
airport in LA.
yeah.
Boy, that place has gone downhill.
But I would say Vikings buffet in the Philippines is way better than that, which is more expensive.
Hometown Buffet
Yeah,
or Vikings?
yeah.
Vikings is more
Okay,
expensive, but the
makes sense.
prices have gone up of Hometown Buffet. It went up a lot last time we were there last year.
Okay.
Um, we got David coming in from Singapore. Hi,
Hi
did
there.
you watch our video series where we were in Singapore? Those are some of the best videos we've ever
I
done.
would like to go back to Singapore.
If you haven't seen those videos of us in Singapore, when we're done here, just go to the channel. There's a playlist of us in Singapore. But we got someone that says happiness question mark, is that more important than money? Well, yes, but I'm kind of saying these are the things that you need for happiness. Health, like I said, health in itself does not make you happy when you're healthy, but if you're unhealthy, it's very hard to be happy. And family, number two, that will make you happy. That's part of it. These are, I mean, that's why I'm not naming happiness is more important than health, because I mean that's kind of obvious. There is a lot of rich people
Well,
that are
they're
unhappy.
interrelated. When someone is not healthy, then it's hard for the person to be happy. But it's really still a choice because you know unfortunate things also happen in life in general. But we cannot choose to just be depressed, be sad all throughout while experiencing whatever, unfortunate or difficult circumstance. So, what I'm trying to say is, whatever the situation is, it's the best thing to do is to always have that grateful attitude, grateful for everything that we have, from the tiniest to the biggest blessing that we have.
Well, I think being grateful that helps you to be happy.
Yes.
That's the whole point
That's
of it.
why I always say, grateful heart is a key to happiness.
So,
So,
like things more important than money, obviously health number one. Then I would say family, and I've learned so much of that from you. You're a very family oriented person. That's the kind of thing that I would say you don't really realize when you're younger. Like when you're 20, you just want to go out and have wild times, excitement, live the life, get success. That's much more important to you. And you don't realize till you're at least a little bit older that family is more important. Like I said, I've really learned that from you. Just uh, especially as you get older, I
mhm.
think, and my dad talks about this a lot
Yeah.
about I mean, that's really all that you really have. That you have to kind of live through your kids and grandkids, children
Mhm.
in some ways, because my dad was just saying, "Man, I'm 70 years old. I know I'm not going to set the world on fire at 70
Mhm.
years old.
Mhm.
I just have to do what I can for the success of my children and
Mhm.
grandchildren right
Mhm.
now," is what he was
Mhm.
saying. And
Yeah.
my dad, he always talks about what a mistake. Well, I'm not going to get into that. I'll save that topic for
Mhm.
another subject because I don't want
Mhm.
to give anything away about some
Yeah.
stuff.
Watch out
But
for that.
I really love my dad. I love my grandpa. I think just some of the best stuff with them is very simple stuff. Like when we used to go out to Bonanza, which no longer exists. They had to close that
Yeah, I like
restaurant down.
that place.
There's like no
Yeah.
buffets in that area anymore, at least no good ones. They have a couple, one
Yeah.
or two Chinese buffets, but it's not the same. But Bonanza Steakhouse, if there's two, there's a Bonanza Steakhouse, and in some places Ponderosa. They're basically the same thing. I guess one of the actors, the guy that played Hoss on Bonanza, he started a restaurant in the early 60s while he was still acting on that TV show called Bonanza. Pretty good idea. He's one of the stars of this popular TV show, and then he starts a restaurant with the same name, Bonanza. And they had one in Mandan that we used to go with the family and stuff. Fairly cheap buffet, but really good. A lot of fun. Really good place to go with your family and enjoy an evening of eating. So there's Bonanza in some places. They had Ponderosa. I guess someone else a few years later they started a restaurant that was similar called Ponderosa. Which, if you know the show Bonanza, I'm explaining this because I don't think you know it either.
Mhm.
On the show Bonanza, the ranch that they lived on was called the Ponderosa. Well, many years later, I think in the late 80s, they both got bought out by a big company.
Mhm.
And then but they kept the names separate. They said, well, if you want to franchise one of these, you can either have Ponderosa or Bonanza. Call it whatever you like of one of those names. We don't care. So in some places you have Ponderosa, in some places you have Bonanza, but they're the same thing.
Ponderosa sounds nice. Oh, by the way, dancing is it corridor corridor wait corridor corridor lane. I will have to look it up just to make sure I'm saying it right. But thank you so much for that info.
Jason Jones says Sizzler was popular. Yeah, I think Sizzler used to be more popular. Sizzler's good, but the problem with it, I would say, is they're very overpriced for what they are. It can get quite expensive, especially if you take a whole family out to Sizzler. That can get quite expensive.
Oh
But
yeah.
Sizzler's good too. It's just I think it's very overpriced. They have Sizzler's very popular actually in Koreatown, and Koreans really like it. There's two Sizzlers in Koreatown in LA, but you haven't been there.
Not yet. I would want to try it. Anthony Glass said we have several golden corrals in our area. Really?
He lives in Texas. That
Oh.
might be where they're based out of. I'm not sure. I think Bonanza and Ponderosa, they're based out of Texas. That's where their home office is.
Hmm.
And I was reading just the other night because I was trying to find locations of those, and I was reading that at one point I think they had over 300 bonanzas and ponderosas, and currently there's only 88 in the United States or world. I think that's for the whole world,
Okay.
which they're not in too many countries. They have some in Puerto Rico. They have some
Mm-hmm.
in nearby places like that.
Right.
So we're gonna wrap it up here soon. But before we do, why don't you guys leave your thoughts, your comments, your questions real quick here uh, before we wind this down on this very special live stream. We appreciate you guys spending the time with us. So go ahead and let your thoughts be known. That's what this is about. It's for you, it's to interact with you and just have a good time with you.
Yeah, and if our patrons, because I saw some of our patrons were, earlier, if you are still here, I've mentioned this before, we are going to share with you soon more surprises, or I would say uh, great news for our patrons. And by the way, if you don't know what the Patreon is, we have our patrons supporting us. We call them our Patreon family. And we are very thankful to our Patreon family because, of course, they help us keep making videos to inform you, to inspire you, and to entertain you guys. And another thing that I like about this is we receive a lot of questions every day asking for travel tips, safety advice, even about dating, visa questions, and the like. And of course, we cannot answer all the questions because we also have to take care of other things. But with our Patreon family, it helps us know which questions or who to prioritize first. So, thank you once again.
If you guys want to support us, the link is in the description. We've been doing these live streams since I believe 2012.
I guess, yeah.
It's kind of funny. I was going through the playlist. I have a playlist of just live streams on my channel, and I was going through the older ones,
Mm-hmm.
as well as watching some older videos, like older vlogs and just some of the older videos that I used to do many years ago. And it's kind of fun to look back on it. It's funny too because I think a lot of my audience they haven't looked at the older stuff. They just kind of subscribe and maybe watch from there or watch here and there. We have a comment here. My first time to watch a live stream. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Citational.
Let us welcome you here. Great idea and keep up the good work. By the way, I shared some info on a bank with me, and yeah, I think that might have been on my Facebook page.
Oh, thank you so much.
But Facebook is almost worthless these days. You post something, it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, kind of like Instagram. They're all this way. They don't really show everyone that follows you. They don't show your stuff to. So it's kind of worthless all this social media. They don't want to. They're all that way. They're all based off of algorithms. Like Facebook especially. Facebook almost more than any, definitely, and YouTube, but where they won't show, like for instance, on both my personal page, my fan page, because I have both a fan page and personal page. My fan page has over 5,000 people, I think. I don't really know,
Mm-hmm.
but when I post something and it shows you how many people you reach, it's like 150 people out of
Yeah,
over
that actually
5,000.
blows my mind because for me, I have almost like less than 100 people to go, and I already
You have
have
like on your personal
five. I
page.
would already have 5,000 fans on Facebook, but basing it on my posts, how many get to see my post? Because if you look at the number of likes and comments, responses, then you would know how many are really reached by it. So, well, it's out of my control. That's I guess that's not good, but they control it. I'm just hoping that the right people are reached by it.
Yeah, you have a personal page and you had to like unfriend people because you
Oh
were
yeah,
getting
that's
so many
another
friend
thing. I
requests.
have to every now and then I have to unfriend people from my friends list just so I can, I will have free slots I'll have available slots for friend requests sent to me from people that I really know. You know what I mean? So that's another thing. It's kind of hard to that every now and then I would see my friends list reaching 5,000, not even knowing really all of them. So, but well, life goes on.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way all these things work, and they all have so much. They all know your personal information. They know all your secrets. They will sell your secrets. And one thing that's kind of crazy these days, people they take these DNA tests. And I was listening to some guy, not on YouTube because he's too controversial. I think he's too politically incorrect. I suppose he's considered because he's not like some sort of. Anyways, I'm not going to say.
Okay, you don't
But
have to elaborate.
but anyways, I was watching his video on BitChute, which is kind of a coming up video site, BitChute.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching his video and he was talking about these DNA tests and
Mm-hmm.
how people submit their personal, literally their DNA.
Okay.
And there's all these data breaches. All these websites, all these companies have data breaches. Well, now you're giving your DNA to a company. They're going to have all this information. They're going to be
Right.
able, in the future, they're going to be selling your DNA probably, or your information about your DNA. I mean, who knows what they're going to be able to do in the next coming years, in the next
Mm-hmm.
decades, 10, 20, 30 years from now. And you're submitting your DNA. And first of all, these things, they're maybe not all that accurate. Like for one thing, it's known this has come out. Some of these companies, if they think you're a white nationalist or something like that, it's been proven that they'll add like maybe 1% of African blood to you. So they're falsifying it to make you think that you're some part something you're not. This is coming out. This is already come out. It's proven that they do things like this. So they're not necessarily all that accurate, anyways. And if he said if he was going to take a DNA test, he would pay a neighbor to use his address and his name and then ship it away and get it back to kind of try and fool them.
Mm-hmm.
But people are willingly handing over their DNA information and paying these companies for it. It's kind of like Facebook and Google, YouTube, all these things. They have all our personal information. They know our secrets. There's gonna be data breaches, or they just have it for themselves, so they can do. It's come out now that Facebook actually can read your private messages. They can and
That's
will.
so alarming.
Google will do that with your Gmail. They'll do that with YouTube. They'll do that with all that stuff. So, just a heads up for you guys. This is the world that we live in. Unfortunately, I know we want to have fun on this live stream because it's kind of a special thing. And maybe now I'm scaring people.
So I guess it is still safer to do snail mails, even though sometimes your mail gets stolen in the Philippines.
In the US too.
Just I mean, like just
Make
putting
the
in it.
USPS great again. No. It's kind of like in Cheers, they have the one character that's the mailman,
Yeah,
Cliff the mailman. And
yeah.
it's funny, we were watching Cheers recently, and you said to me, do mailmen in the United States still wear these uniforms? And as far as I know, the mailmen still do dress the way the guys dressed on Cheers. That's the uniform. They wear uniforms.
Interesting. Do they have female, male? I mean,
But yeah, they have
male
female.
women,
Yeah, I think in
female male
today's
staff.
I think in today's politically correct era, you have to say male person.
Well,
They're
I
male
have.
people.
Here's the thing. I was not
We
aware.
can't
I was not
mislabel their
here.
gender.
Let me just share this with you. I haven't shared this with you yet. I think I was not aware of political correctness or culture yet before. But when I was teaching English and communication subjects to college in a university, the textbooks include lessons that teach students to be politically correct. For example, you don't instead of saying policeman, you say police officer. you
This is at
know.
the college you were teaching at the university.
Yes, these are, this is a common lesson in the textbooks that I saw. Of course, as a teacher, you have your references that you use. So, because I was preparing my syllabus,
Well,
and then so I had to use different books just so it's not limited.
well, the
You know.
Philippines is getting very politically correct.
By the way, the textbook is an international textbook
Okay, but they're all
from the U.S.
people sometimes ask me questions about that. This country is getting very politically correct. Now,
Yeah,
it's not like the U.S.
that's a good idea. Letter carrier. Okay,
Anthony Glass says, call
Anthony
them
Glass.
letter carrier. Well, I was talking about this too recently. Back in the old days, you had a policeman. Now it's police officer. You had a fireman. Now it's firefighter.
I
So,
know.
like, we've had to change all the terms for
I
these
know.
things.
Hi, Chris. Chris Venture is part of
Hi,
the
Chris.
Patreon family. Say hi to Ina and Serial. Chris Allen is also joining us now. So, by the way, before I forget, to all the fathers, you were talking about
Oh,
dad,
Father's Day.
grandpa. Yes, happy Father's Day to all of you who are fathers, or even though perhaps you don't have a child, but you are acting like a father, providing for nephews, nieces, or just a family member or friend, like what a father does. Happy Father's Day to you guys.
Chris is a father. If you guys are fathers, let us know in the comments section if you're actually a father. If not, maybe you're a son, a daughter. Uh, maybe you were a son that became a daughter, as we're
What?
joking at. Well, Bruce Jenner, if he's watching, he was someone's son.
Hmm.
He was a father to himself. Now he's a mother. Is he a mother? I don't know what you would say. So hey, you got to be
Things are getting
look,
crazy,
if we're not
crazier.
politically correct, YouTube will boot us off. So
George, yeah.
we got to please the Illuminati guys. So
No,
otherwise we'll get kicked off of this.
God
That's the way it
is
works.
the only one to please. George said hi to both of you. Phoenix, Arizona. Mary Grace will be in Manila getting K1, K2 visa in July. I hope we meet for dinner. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, hope, God bless your visa application.
Anthony
And
Glass, who we've been privileged to have him as our guest during this live stream since the beginning of the live stream. Says he has a son 26, a daughter 24, and I believe
wow.
he worked in law enforcement. So, do you prefer the term policeman or police officer? What do you prefer to be called? Or maybe he doesn't care one way or another. It'd be something to ask because you have a lot of family members that work in law enforcement.
Yes.
You have family relatives too that are
They're
firefighters
like
or
in
firemen.
all departments.
We were just at a party, last week or a few days ago?
Last Sunday, I think.
Okay, almost a week. We were at a
Yes.
party and I was sitting at a table with some firemen. One was actually a fire chief.
Yeah. And he's going to New York, right?
Yeah, he's gonna make a bit. He hasn't been
Yeah.
to the U.S. yet, but he says he's gonna take a vacation there.
Yeah. What? David Yo? Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. You
Yo,
should watch all the
yo or
videos
yo.
so you'd know the answer. Thank you. Anthony Glass, yes, you read that. And
Chris Allen says,
wow.
father of four
Hmm.
and three grandchildren. Congratulations, that's really terrific.
I am curious as since you are a father and a grandfather already, which which time did you feel happier when you had your son or daughter or when you had your grandson or granddaughter?
That's a good question. What made you
Yeah.
happier, being a
I
parent
mean,
or a
like, what's
grandparent?
the difference in the feeling, when you become a father or when you become a grandfather? Because they say, it's really this special kind of joy when you become a grandparent. So
Well, he says he's a Canadian and he says it's too PC there. Yeah, that's like the PC capital of the world, Canada. Yeah, I mean, you
Oh,
can't do anything in Canada without probably, getting in
I
some
was
trouble. You got
thinking
to really
PC.
watch your language. You got to watch
Uh-huh.
what you say around there.
Sad,
Say the wrong
sadly.
thing in Canada.
Yeah. Well, citation no asked, is that Coca-Cola gotta be PC for that beverage?
Well, I think Diet Coke is the national beverage of the United States now, because
Because of Trump.
that's what the president drinks. So
That's
so
funny.
that might be the national beverage of the U.S. now. I don't know. I haven't been there for a while, so
That's funny.
um,
Who started spreading that story, anyways? Was it like paid?
CNN.
Was it paid by
CNN
Coke?
had like, by the way, it was the day after an attempted terrorist attack, and the main story on CNN the next day is like that the president he drinks several diet cokes a day. Like that's the most important pressing issue. And okay, we just had an attempted a terrorist attack like hours previous to this, and their top story is, does the president drink too much diet coke? How is this affecting him? Like it's just so ridiculous. But
Yeah. Maybe it's just a secret um promotion for Coke.
God bless America, but man, they are like kings when it comes to propaganda. Like how much fake, I mean, we talked about this in previous weeks in our live streams, how much propaganda and how fake our media is in the United States. In the old days, we used to believe everything that the media would tell us. People thought if it's on TV, it's real, especially if it's on a so-called news program. But now, like, no one trusts anything they have to say. The secret's out of the bag, and they're not taken seriously. It's just I feel like sometimes they don't even try to convince us that they're actually being honest these days.
That's crazy.
we Chris, who's the Canadian, he says he's going to the Philippines on June 26th. He can't wait because Canada's too PC. I don't think that's the only reason he's coming here. We have another comment. Australia is becoming that way. Yeah, that's true. That's what I hear about Australia. Australia, like you have to be super politically correct there. Anthony Glass answered our question. He says usually just officer, or when I was a deputy sheriff,
Deputy
deputy
or
or
officer.
officer,
Yeah.
which they don't have sheriffs here,
Yeah.
do they? You were kind of,
No,
I
not
think you were
really.
asking me about that because you were also asking me about counties
Yeah.
because they don't have counties here either. And like sheriffs, they're the county, not the city. I had to try and explain some of that because it works
Well, we
differently
have
here.
provinces, and then we have cities or municipalities, and then we have barangays. So,
Something like very different than in the US, of
yeah.
course.
Citation no. Yes, that's true. Yes. And I did not know that before, like several years ago. Chris, the biggest fake news this week is the Trump tariffs. China has had tariffs on all US goods for decades. It's the US finally retaliating, not China.
I put in
Hmm.
a call to the president and I said, hey, their airline, China Southern, didn't treat us so good. You better get on. You better punish. No, I'm just joking.
So, what do you think?
Alter Ego asks, do you watch World Cup sometimes? That's soccer, I guess. And the answer to that is no. The only sport that I watch is MMA. I love
UFC.
watching MMA. If I have a hobby that you could say it's watching MMA, that's something that really relieves a lot of stress for me because
Yeah.
it's not related to anything I really currently do. So I can just kick back, watch, relax. It's really exciting, really fun. I just have a good time watching it. I don't just watch the UFC either. I watch a lot of them. Bellator, I try and
Hmm.
watch. I try and watch some other ones, but I don't think there's not a UFC event tomorrow, which would be today for them. But that one last week, that was one of the best events of the year, even though it started off with kind of a screwy fight. Think about this. The opening fight for their pay-per-view event last week was a guy with an 0-1 record versus a guy with an 0-1 record, and somehow they're fighting on the main pay-per-view, and like and you could see the fight. That was probably about the worst set of skills that we've ever seen on display in the UFC. They were worse than women's fighters. The one guy, that WWE wrestler guy,
Mhm.
that guy's supposedly been training for over 4 years.
Wow.
And if you see him, he looks like, when you watch him fight, he looks like a guy that's watched a lot of UFC fights, but not like a guy that's ever trained in his life. Even the commentators couldn't take that seriously. They were making jokes about it during it. I mean, like that was so bad. It was just so terrible. Both those guys. That was like one of the biggest jokes ever in the UFC. The UFC is supposed to be for the best fighters in the world, and we have a guy. I mean, those guys wouldn't even be. Those guys would be a joke if they were fighting at an amateur level, let
Mhm.
alone on a pay-per-view. UFC, a guy with an 0-1 record versus a guy with an 0-1 record.
Well, oh, Chris Allen answered the question. Each brought their own joy. You never stop wanting the best for your children. Grandchildren you can really love to spoil. Nothing beats being called daddy, but my granddaughter calls me Dampa. Dampa, that's so cute. How old is she? There.
Well, that's an interesting answer. Yeah, I guess I can see how it might be hard to compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you never stop wanting the best for your children.
That's,
I know.
well, I guess that's why grandparents are usually the spoilers of grandchildren. So,
Um, he says you never stop wanting the best for your children. I can definitely say that's how Dad
yes,
feels about us.
yes.
And Jason Jones says,
Same
well,
thing
yeah.
with my mom. Yeah.
Jason Jones asks, "Do I like Pride fighting?" Well, that went out of business years ago already. That got bought out by the UFC. Back in the day, that was the main competition for the
It
UFC
was bought out by.
by
Was
the
it?
UFC.
Okay.
Uh, and Pride, though, they definitely had a different flavor, a different feel than the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had a lot of fixed fights
Oh,
in Pride. Like a lot of their fights were
okay.
fixed, and sometimes it was obvious that they were fixed. Mark Coleman, former UFC champion Mark Coleman, who wrestled for Ohio State, he was involved with a really bad fixed fight in Pride years ago. I mean,
That's crazy.
like some of them were just so obvious. They've had a couple fixed fights in the early UFC too. There's at least a couple fixed fights that happened
Like
in the very
early,
early
early.
UFC
Okay.
before it had before it really started getting going. They
Mm-hmm.
definitely had a couple fixed fights. But it's funny because uh, Pride was harder to come by in America. It wasn't as well known. I remember I was in the like I started getting back really interested in the UFC when they came out with their reality show, The
Mm-hmm.
Ultimate Fighter, which I don't even watch anymore. It's kind of played out. But that's kind of like what got me interested in it again after like totally losing interest in it. And then I came here to the Philippines, and I was telling my best friend Lance Raymundo, I was telling him about how much I'm into the UFC,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Oh well, if you like the UFC, you should check out Pride." And then he gave me a bunch of DVDs, a bunch of DVD
Mm-hmm.
Pride DVDs that I had. And then remember, you'd come over to my place, and we'd watch fights like that. We'd watch the DVDs.
That was the first time I was introduced to MMA. Yeah.
I remember like in the early days when I first was interested, like way back in the 90s, it wasn't even called in the 90s it wasn't called MMA. I think a lot of people that are fans of it today, a lot of them don't even realize that in the earlier days going back to the 1990s, it was not called MMA, it was called NHB, no holds barred. And then when they started to try and make it a legitimate sport, because it used to be just fighting, it was really just fighting. But when they started to try and legitimize it and make it a sport, then they started coming up with rules, and then like we need like a unified term for what this sport is going to be called, and they settled on MMA, mixed martial arts. So
Correct. Well.
I remember there was even a magazine called like NHB something like NHB Unlimited or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Then they had to eventually they had as that term started going out, eventually they had to change the name of their magazine to like MMA, whatever it was. So they had to change the whole name of the magazine.
Chris's granddaughter is 2.5 years old. That's a very, very cute age.
Yeah, that is. They're still at their cute years. And then when she becomes a teenager, you're going to have to probably worry a lot more and go through that stress, I suppose. But I think we should probably call it a night here. We've gone a lot longer than I was planning to do. I hope you guys had a good time. I had a good time. How about you?
Same here.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. We have a great new vlog that should be out tomorrow, probably in about 20 hours or so from now. I have to finish editing it, but I think it's a really special vlog. It's one of my better ones of at least of this year. It's one of my best vlogs.
Great. And of course, you guys, if you were not able to join us from the very beginning of this live stream, hopefully the recording is complete. You can still check out the recording so you can still catch up. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and joining us on this live stream. Hopefully, we can see you again on another live stream in the future. And
Joining us,
go check out all the videos that you haven't seen yet. Enjoy. And to our Patreon family, once again, thank you super much. Happy Father's Day once again to all of you fathers in the world. And what else? Well, that's
happy
it.
Father's Day, guys.
Yeah. And well, I guess see you again soon. God bless you all. Bye bye.
See ya.